Well, worldwide devastation and tragedy are on our TV screens and in our news feeds every day. 9/11, the Bali bombings, MH370 and the recent shootings in Orlando. Horrific events seem to be more common now than ever before.
Information and images are easily accessible and most adults can comprehend the context. But how do children deal with disaster? And is it possible to keep our kids' innocence intact? To discuss more, we have Dr. Karen Phillips in the studio, live at the desk. Hello, Doctor.
Hi.
Some parents would argue that kids need to learn about the world and be exposed to these events, but can they put these disasters into context?
It depends on the age of the child. Certainly for children under the age of around 6, they really shouldn't be privy to this sort of information. And it means that whether it's a tragedy such as a bombing, whether it's a cyclone or a tornado, even a tsunami, we need to protect our younger children because they don't understand it and they can't get it into context. Once children are around the age of 7 to around 11 or 12, they can start to put it into context a little more. And of course, our 12s and over, they have these discussions at school and they're more informed.
All right, we'll go through the kind of the individual age brackets in a minute, but as parents, our reaction to a news story or an event, what effect does that have on the kids?
A child will follow what a parent feels, what a parent does, how a parent acts and behaves. So if a parent is displaying concern, anxieties, fear, then that will be passed on to their child. If a parent, is shocked by a story and then says, okay, well, that happened, it's a long way away, turns off the news story, then the child will accept that it was something that occurred, not really sure perhaps what it was, but it's okay because mum and dad are okay.
If adults want to catch up on the news or the events of the day, what's a way of doing that so the kids can't see or hear it, particularly those ones who might get a reaction from it?
Turning the television off over dinner is great because we can have our family time without the news on in the background. But there's so many catch-up apps we have now. We've got our news feeds in Facebook. There is a million ways that parents can catch up on the news, even with the news alerts that are on phones now. So we can catch up at any time of any day. We don't need to actually sit down and listen to the 6 o'clock news or the 6:30 news anymore. So if we can keep that away from our children, particularly at our mealtime, our family times, that is always the best option.
All right, let's go through the different ages. For children under 6, what is the best way to handle them if they've seen something horrific?
Well, then we allow the child to ask us a question and we simply respond very briefly, but what we don't do is we don't add more information to it. We simply respond to what they are saying to us. Now, the other thing is that we try and add a positive to it. It may be like, yes, that happened, but like the people that were there fighting the fire or helping others or the ambulance people were so good and they made lots of people feel better very quickly. So we do find a positive for the younger children. And as I say, keep an eye on them as well. Most younger children are quite fine. They'll let it pass. And if mum and dad don't react badly, the child will just let it pass.
What about primary-aged kids?
This becomes a little bit more difficult because they often talk about it at school.
Right.
They have the news stories, they'll perhaps discuss it in the classroom or even in the playground. So it's a matter of checking in with those children that are a little older. Ask them if they've heard about it, or if they've asked you questions, then, sort of answer in an age-appropriate way and respond. But again, don't give them too much information. Just simply satisfy their questions and leave it at that. But keep an eye on them because some children, even younger children, we hope most of them will let it go, but some of the children will sit with it and wonder about it and just think, is this going to happen to me? Is it going to happen to my family, my street, my town? So these are the sorts of things that we as parents need to keep an eye on.
Sure.
What about for high schoolers? There's a different approach because you can have, a more grown-up conversation with them, right?
Absolutely, we do with our high school students, and they have they've got accessible news feeds in every device that they have, both at school and at home. So they will be well informed. So with those children, it's a matter of actually having a discussion with them, keeping an eye on it. Now, they will often have an opinion, a very strong opinion on what's going on, particularly if it's a tragedy or a terrorist attack. Allow them to be heard. Never dismiss their emotions or their feelings, but speak it out with them. If you feel that your child is focusing too much on the negative, then if you're unable to turn that around, or they're unable to really accept what you're saying, then seek professional help and speak to somebody, or even one of the numbers that a lot of the kids can call,
Yes.
Beyond Blue numbers, those sorts of things, to get a different perspective for them and get a more positive slant. And that's the big thing for parents. We need to put as much positive slant on any story as we can.
All right, great advice. Terrific. Karen, thank you so much.